Lava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Stutra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astotra Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. ISKCON founder Srila Prabhupada ki. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Mathura Dham ki jai. Shri Navadvip Dham ki jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Ganga Maya Yamuna Maya ki jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai. Samaveta Bhaktavrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So, today we continuing with Sri Isopanisad, and today we're doing mantra 10. So please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Just a minute. Anyad eva hur vidyaya nyadahura vidyaya iti shushu madhiranam yenastad vichachakshire. So please repeat the word for word translation. Anyat, different. Eva, certainly. Aho, said. Vidyaya, by culture of knowledge. Anyat, different. Aho, said. Avidyaya, by culture of nescience. Iti, thus. Shushruma, I heard. Dhiranam, from the sober. Ye, who? Naha, to us. That, tat, that. Vichachakshire, explained. So Srila Prabhupada's translation. The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nescience. So, the previous mantra, mantra 9, spoke about also about nescient activities and how they drag you to the darkest regions of ignorance. And it also says, worse still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. And then today's verse, the wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and that a different result is obtained from the culture of nescience. Right? So this knowledge that Srila Prabhupada is talking about in this mantra, in this verse, is spiritual knowledge. Right? And then he says, and a different result is obtained from the culture of nescience. So nescience, what is nescience? It can mean like ignorance, right? Nescience. Nay science, not science. Because we know that science is the science of Bhagavad Gita. And modern material science is just ignorance. So let's read Srila Prabhupada's purport. I may comment as I'm reading along. As advised in chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita, that's 13, text 8 to 12, one should culture knowledge in the following way. 1. one should become a perfect gentleman and learn to give proper respect to others. 2, one should not pose himself as a religionist simply for name and fame. 3, one should not become a source of anxiety to others by the actions of his body, by the thoughts of his mind, or by his words. Now, very interesting, in Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada, he puts all this under one word called ahimsa, non-violence. So normally we say ahimsa and people think, no animal killing, right? But yes, Srila Prabhupada elaborates more about ahimsa. What is ahimsa? One should not become a source of anxiety to others by the actions of his body. So that means even to human beings, and by the thoughts of his mind or by his words. So we can even cause violence by our thoughts and words. Number 4, one should learn forbearance even in the face of provocation from others. Number 5, one should learn to avoid duplicity in his dealings with others. 6, one should search out a bona fide spiritual master who can lead him gradually to the stage of spiritual realization. And one must submit himself to such a spiritual master, render service, and ask relevant questions. 7, in order to approach the platform of self-realization, one must follow the regulative principles enjoined in the revealed scriptures. Number 8, one must be fixed in the tenets of the revealed scriptures. 9, one should completely refrain from practices which are detrimental to the interest of self-realization. 10, one should not accept more than he requires for the maintenance of the body. 11, one should not falsely identify himself with the gross material body, nor should one consider those who are related to his body to be his own. And number 12, one should always remember that as long as he has a material body, he must face the miseries of repeated birth, old age, disease, and death. There is no use in making plans to get rid of these miseries of the material body. The best course is to find out the means by which one may regain his spiritual identity. 13, one should not be attached to more than the necessities of life required for spiritual advancement. 14, one should not be more attached to wife, children, and home than the revealed scriptures ordain. 15, one should not be happy or distressed over desirables and undesirables, knowing that such feelings are just created by the mind. 16, one should become an unalloyed devotee of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and serve him with rapt attention. 17, one should develop a liking for residence in a secluded place with a calm and quiet atmosphere favorable for spiritual culture. And one should avoid congested places where non-devotees congregate. 18, one should become a scientist or philosopher and conduct research into spiritual knowledge, recognizing that spiritual knowledge is permanent, whereas material knowledge ends with the death of the body. So then, there's a lengthy purport which we will read. These 18 items combine to form a gradual process by which the real knowledge can be developed. Except for these, all other methods are considered to be in the category of nescience. So here, Srila Prabhupada says that these 18 items combine to form the process by which real knowledge is developed. Okay? So real knowledge, like I mentioned before, is spiritual knowledge, because these 18 items that are mentioned are the qualities of a devotee, of a sadhu, right? And devotee wants to acquire spiritual knowledge, develop spiritual knowledge. So that is the real knowledge. And except for these, all other methods are considered to be in the category of nescience, ignorance. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a great acharya, maintained that all forms of material knowledge are merely external features of the illusory energy, and that by culturing them, one becomes no better than an ass. Right? So, yeah, this culture of knowledge means spiritual knowledge, and that is the real knowledge. Advancement of, Srila Prabhupada says that advancements of knowledge for the comforts of protecting this material body, that is the culture of nescience, that is ignorance. Because we may try to protect this body, but its natural course will take place, right? Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi. We will take birth, we will suffer disease, we'll grow old, and we'll die. The material body must do this. So you cannot relieve this body from repeated birth and death. And while it's manifested, you cannot stop the disease and the old age. So this is what people are, modern day people are very much doing, right? They're trying to stop the old age process. We're going for so much of, there's so much of products in the market that says, oh, use this and your skin won't wrinkle, the crow's feet will go away, There's things like, what did I call it? Botox or something. People go for these things, right? Just to make the material body look nice, right? And what is it for? To attract the opposite sex, or sometimes the same sex, right? That's why we want to make this body look good, right? And as we read further, we'll read about that. So Prabhupada says that the death of the body was registered when it was born, right? So that is a fact, he says. And you cannot stop the natural course of this body. The body must go through the process of birth, death, old age, and disease. So when we are born, the date of your death is already registered, right? So if that is the case, with the date of your death is already registered, then what is the from birth until death? What should we do? Culture the knowledge so that we don't take birth and death again, the real knowledge, right? And then Prabhupada mentions about Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying that what does he say? All forms of material knowledge are merely external features of the illusory energy, and that by culturing them, one becomes no better than an ass. Right? So quite heavy, an ass, right? When you call someone an ass, they become angry, right? If I call you an ass, you're not going to like it, right? So Prabhupada says that in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said, Yasyatma Buddhi Kunapetri Dhakute. This means the body is made up of three primary elements, mucus, bile, and air. And in old age, he said, we know this, the air circulation becomes difficult, and Prabhupada says that, the old man becomes rheumatic and there's so many bodily ailments and things. So, one who has accepted this combination of bile, mucus, and air as the self, then he is an ass. Right? So basically Prabhupada is reiterating that we are not this material body. The ABC of spiritual life, we're not this material body, we're the spirit soul. And if we accept this fact, or this untruth that yes, we are this material body, then we are no better than asses. This same principle is found here in Sri Isopanisad. By advancement of material knowledge, modern man is simply being converted into an ass. Some materialistic politicians and spiritual guys decry the present system of civilization as satanic. But unfortunately, they do not care about the culture of real knowledge as it is described in the Bhagavad Gita. Thus, they cannot change the satanic situation. So we can see this every day with modern day politicians, right? They're not God-conscious people. They are only there to fill their pockets, right? So how can they change the situation of their citizens? You know, everybody in this material world is suffering. Every country, in every country, there's people suffering in one way or the other. And we see even in first world countries, there's protests going on. Sometimes it may be some things like tree huggers. You know, they want to protect the trees. They want to protect the animals. So protests like that is going on. And then here in South Africa, we have other types of protests, violent protests that are going on. So, but what are the modern day politicians, what are the leaders doing about it? You know, they may speak some words on TV, may have some rallies and things, but actually they're just there to speak these words to the people, and people are so gullible that they believe them, you know. But there's nothing being done. Why there's nothing being done, or why there's no change, is because these are not God-conscious people. They're not cultivating the real knowledge, the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Right? In the modern society, even a boy thinks himself self-sufficient and pays no respect to elderly men. So this is true. When I was a boy too, I was thinking, you know, what is my father talking about? What does he know about what my situation is? You know, I'm sure we all think like this when we were young, when we were teenagers and things. So, but previously in Vedic times, children were not thinking like that, or young boys and girls were not thinking like that, right? Because the culture was there from the beginning. This culture of Bhagavad Gita or Ramayana and Mahabharata, it was being taught to them from the beginning, and then therefore they had respect for their elders. But now we don't have that, and in schools and universities, the only thing that is taught is material knowledge, nescience. How to find a job and how to make money, basically. Okay? So in the modern society, even a boy or girl thinks himself self-sufficient and pays no respect to the elderly men. Due to the wrong type of education being imparted in our universities, boys all over the world are giving their elders headaches. This is true. Right? We see even in schools, the teachers are full of have so much of headaches. Sri Radharanath ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Giri Govardhan ki jai. So teachers in schools are not being respected anymore. Right? In fact, I feel so sorry for teachers these days. I was speaking to a teacher not long ago, a few days ago, and I asked him, so how things are in school? And he said, it's bad. That was, his whole expression just went like, you know, he said, bad. And he said, they cannot do anything. Their hands are tied. You know? They're just like caregivers in school. Right? Because kids don't have any respect for teachers anymore, for the elderly. Right? So yeah, they're giving their elders headaches. Thus, Sri Isopanisad very strongly warns that the culture of nescience is different from that knowledge. The universities are, so to speak, centers of nescience only. Consequently, scientists are very busy discovering lethal weapons to wipe out the existence of other countries. University students today are not giving instructions in the regulative principles of brahmacharya. Nor do they have any faith in any scriptural injunctions. Religious principles are taught for the sake of name and fame only, and not for the sake of practical action. Thus, there is animosity not only in social and political fields, but in the field of religion as well. So yes, so modern education is being used to fight wars. I read that some genius, I don't know, it could be Einstein, but he wrote a letter to one of the American presidents, right? Who discovered E equals mc squared? Was it Einstein, right? So yeah, so Einstein wrote a letter to one of the American presidents when he discovered this E equals mc squared thing. What did they call it? Formula, right? Yeah, this formula. I don't know what the contents of the letter was and thing or whatever, but he said that, or it was said in that article that not long after that, America developed the atomic bomb and bombed Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? Yeah. And then, so Albert Einstein, he said that he regretted why he shared this information, because his knowledge was used for destruction. Right? So this is modern day, our modern day education. It has just been used for destruction, fighting wars. And we see, and for stupid things. A big country like Russia is fighting for a little country like Ukraine. Russia has so much of land. What do they want with a little country, you know? Then the war, the Palestine war, you know, fighting for the Gaza Strip, a useless piece of land, sand. So this is what modern education is being utilized for. Because, and then Prabhupada says here in his purport that university students today are not given the instruction on the regulative principles of brahmacharya, celibate life, right? And then I mentioned that, you know, it's just how to make money. Schools and universities just teach how to find a job and make money, not the goal of life. Nationalism has developed in different parts of the world due to the cultivation of nescience by the general people. No one considers that this tiny earth is a lump of matter floating in immeasurable space along with many other lumps. In comparison to the vastness of space, these material lumps are like dust particles in the air. Because God has kindly made these lumps of matter complete in themselves, they are perfectly equipped with all necessities for floating in space. The drivers of our spaceships may be very proud of their achievements, but they do not consider the supreme driver of these greater, more gigantic spaceships called planets. Yes, so modern man is so proud that he has reached the moon. But Prabhupada said that they may not even have reached the moon. They may have reached some other planet, like the Rahu planet or something. But if they have reached the moon, what is their achievement? What have they brought back? And he says some useless piece of rock. Right? So modern man can't take care of this planet Earth, but we want to go and mess up other planets. We're looking for other planets to mess up, right? And then now we see that they're trying to find life in Mars and all these things, or whether it's suitable for humans to live on Mars. For what? For messing up another planet? But they won't take the time to understand how is these gigantic spaceships, these gigantic planets, staying up, floating in space without falling. You know, who is behind that? How is everything so perfect? If you plant a tree under a shelter, the tree will grow, but how does it know to grow that way and go and avoid the roof and then go towards the sun? There must be something there, some intelligence there. So who is behind this? So scientists are not considering this. There are innumerable suns and innumerable planetary systems also. As infinitesimal parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, we small creatures are trying to dominate these unlimited planets. Thus we take repeated birth and death and are generally frustrated by old age and disease. The span of human life is scheduled for about 100 years, although it is gradually decreasing to 20 or 30 years. Thanks to the culture of nescience, befooled men have created their own nations within these planets in order to grasp sense enjoyment more effectively for these few years. Such foolish people draw up various plans to render national demarcations perfectly, a task that is totally impossible. Yet for this purpose, each and every nation has become a source of anxiety for the others. More than 50% of a nation's energy is devoted to defense measures and thus spoiled. No one cares for the cultivation of real knowledge. Yet people are falsely proud of being advanced in both material and spiritual knowledge. Sri Isopanisad warns us that this faulty type of education and the Bhagavad Gita Sri Isopanisad warns us of this faulty type of education, and the Bhagavad Gita gives instructions as to the development of real knowledge. This mantra states that the instructions of Vidya, knowledge, must be acquired from a dhira. A dhira is one who is not disturbed by material illusion. No one can be disturbed unless he is perfectly spiritually realized, at which time one neither hankers nor laments for anything. A dhira realizes that the material body and mind are as he has acquired by chance through material association are but foreign elements. Therefore, he simply makes the best use of a bad bargain. The material body and mind are bad bargains for the spiritual living entity. The living entity has actual functions in the living spiritual world. But this material world is dead. As long as the living spiritual sparks manipulate the dead lump of matter, the dead world appears to be a living world. Actually, it is the living souls, the parts and parcels of the Supreme Living Being, who move the world. The dhiras have come to know all these facts by hearing them from superior authorities and have realized this knowledge by following the regulative principles. There's a few more paragraphs. To follow the regulative principles, one must take shelter of a bona fide spiritual master. The transcendental message and regulative principles come down from the spiritual master to the disciple. Such knowledge does not come in the hazardous way of nescient education. One must become a dhira only by submissively hearing from a bona fide spiritual master. Arjuna, for example, became a dhira by submissively hearing from Krishna, the personality of Godhead himself. Thus, the perfect disciple must be like Arjuna, and the spiritual master must be as good as the Lord himself. This is the process of learning vidya or knowledge from the dhira, the undisturbed. An adhira, one who has not undergone the training of dhira, cannot be an instructive leader. Modern politicians who pose themselves as dhiras are actually adhiras, and one cannot expect perfect knowledge from them. They are simply busy seeing to their own remuneration in dollars and cents. How then can they lead the mass of people to the right path of self-realization? Thus one must hear submissively from a dhira in order to attain actual education. So Prabhupada is stressing listening from a dhira. And I want to read some parts of the lecture that he gave on this verse regarding dhira, which I can't seem to find now. Okay. Okay, so Prabhupada says, so people are searching what is God, and searching, and they fall. They say, oh, there is no God. I am God. Finished, you see. This is not possible. Here it is said, iti shushruma. This is Vedic knowledge. Heard, shushruma. Where from shushruma? From the storekeeper? He's asking the question. Where from you have to hear? From the storekeeper? No. Dhiranam. Shushruma. Iti shushruma dhiranam. What is dhiranam? From the sober sect. Not this fanatic sect, but the sober sect. Dhira. Dhira means Dhira means whose senses are not agitated by material influence. Or Swami or Goswami. He is called a Dhira. So therefore we take in shelter of a Dhira, a Swami, a Goswami. So what is meaning of Goswami? One who has controlled the senses. Right? So Prabhupada says that there are different kinds of agitations. The first agitating agent is the mind. Then the other is the tongue, the power of speaking, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam. And then another is when we become angry. And when we become angry, we forget. Right? And when we forget our intelligence, then we start speaking nonsense. I'm sure we all experience this. We become angry with someone and we say things, and later on, when we remembering what we said, then we feel bad. I shouldn't have said this. Right? So that's anger. Then Prabhupada says, Vacho Vegam, Krodha Vegam, Manasa Vegam, Jiva Vegam. Jiva Vegam, agitation of the Jiva, the tongue. Don't you see, for the agitation of the tongue, so many advertisements. Oh, here is this liquor. Here is this chicken. Here is this beef. Right? And this is basically when you watch TV or you see big billboards on the road, what is being advertised? Liquor, this type of foodstuffs, meat foodstuffs. So Prabhupada says, does it mean without beef, without chicken, without liquor we cannot live? Is it a fact? Is it not a fact? So for living we have what Krishna has provided. Right? We speak about having a sattvic diet. What is a sattvic diet? Sattvic diet is consuming what nature has provided. That means nothing made in a factory. Right? You'll find that when we follow a sattvic diet, is like they don't cook with oil, with sunflower oil and things. The oil they get from coconut, but they don't buy like coconut oil from the shop. It's fresh grated coconut, and they have their way of making their sabjis and things, right? So what nature has provided. Prabhupada says that we have got so many nice things. Krishna has given us so many nice things for the human being. You can take these grains, these fruits, the nice things, the milk. The milk is produced hugely. It is not for the cow itself. Yesterday Rangadevi was speaking about cow protection. So Prabhupada is saying here, the milk is not for the cow itself. The cow doesn't drink its own milk. Who is it for? It is for human being. Tena tyaktena bhunjita. That is the allotment, right? So this is true. The cow doesn't drink its own milk. Okay, maybe the calf will drink will drink the mother's milk, but for how long? But the cow is still producing milk after that. So Prabhupada says this milk produced in the cow is for human consumption. Right? So yeah, he says here, but so far the cow's milk is concerned, that is specifically meant for the human being. And then, so yeah, he says, what is ordained by Krishna, you take it. But we have got the agitation of the tongue. Why shall I be satisfied simply by taking grains, milk and vegetables and fruit? Let me maintain hundreds of slaughterhouses and kill these animals. And after taking the milk, although she becomes my mother, for my tongue agitation, let them be killed, you see. So this is it. Basically, slaughterhouses are being maintained for because we want to taste the blood for the tongue. But this is so gross. So, like Mataji was saying yesterday, we have to promote cow protection, Gauraksha, right? But not only Gauraksha, but animal protection, right? And it's said that the reaction to these of maintaining these slaughterhouses are the huge wars, where human beings are kept in these prisoner of war camps, just like how these animals are kept. And then what happens? Mass slaughter after that to these prisoners of war. So that is the reaction. I mean, thinking about it, it's so sad. So then Prabhupada says, we don't have to hear such nonsense, but you have to hear from the Dhira now. Those who have controlled their senses. That is Goswami or Swami. One who has 6 kinds of control. Control of the mind, control of the tongue, control of anger, control of speaking, control of the genitals, and control of the belly. Right? The 6 kinds of agitating agents: the mind, the tongue, the belly, genitals, speaking. So one who has control over these things, he is called a Dhirana. Right? Dhira. And then Prabhupada in that class, he gives the example of Lord Shiva. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, we read about the Daksha Yagya, where Lord Shiva was insulted by Daksha, and Parvati was so angry that she committed suicide. She couldn't handle the insult to her husband, Lord Shiva, and because of her suicide, Lord Shiva became so angry, and then he left this world, and he was in meditation, and then it said. So Lord Shiva was in meditation, and there was a fight going on after that between the demons and the demigods. So the demigods wanted a general. They needed a general, right? So it was concluded that the seminar of Lord Shiva, from the seminar of Lord Shiva, if a son is born, this personality will be the ideal general. But Lord Shiva was in meditation. So Prabhupada explains that he was completely naked. So Parvati, now Parvati, before when she committed suicide, she was known as Sati, right? So Parvati was sent to worship the Shivaling, right? Just to agitate him for sexual desire, for sex. But he was not agitated. He was still silent. So that particular instant is given by the poet Kalidas. He is Dhira. Right? A young girl is worshipping the genital, touching it. Still he is not agitated. So that is an example of being Dhira. Dhira means there may be causes for agitation, but one shall not be agitated. Prabhupada says. So he gives this example of Lord Shiva. So then Prabhupada says, in spite of the presence of the agitating agents, just like there is very nice foodstuffs, but still my tongue should not be agitated. Or there is a very nice boy, there is a very nice girl, still I shall not be sexually agitated. In this way, when you are able to control the 6 agitating elements, then you become dhira. So basically, Srila Prabhupada is saying, what is dhira? And he goes on in this lecture, speaking about dhira, 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 dhira. Right? So he's emphasizing this point. And this means that we all should become dhira. And how to become dhira? By living our lives according to these first 18 instructions that we read, right? Which was, one should become a perfect gentleman and learn to give proper respect to others. One should not pose himself as a religionist simply for name and fame, etc. Right? So we have to develop those qualities. But how to develop those qualities? By following the regulative principles. So Prabhupada is saying in that so teacher or the spiritual master is not inventing something. It's the same thing, same old thing. And then it's given in the purport. Just like Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, the same Bhagavad Gita was spoken to the sun god millions and millions of years ago. It wasn't something new. Krishna spoke the same thing. And then what? Arjuna became the disciple. When he became the disciple, Krishna became the spiritual master. And then in that way, then Arjuna understood, oh, I have to fight. Not for me, but for Krishna. So like this, when we surrender to spiritual master, to the dhira, then we take instruction from him. We ask questions, and he gives instruction. Then we begin to understand the real knowledge. The real knowledge is the spiritual knowledge, Bhagavad Gita. Right. And then Prabhupada quotes the verse, Tadvidi Pranipatena, from Bhagavad Gita 4:34. So he concludes by saying, so always remember that we have to learn from the person who is dhira, who has control over these agitating agents. Right? So in modern times, there's so many types of modern gurus, right? So we can't surrender to somebody who's, we have these gurus who go to corporate events or to corporations and they motivate the staff of the companies, right? They're also called gurus, but they're not dhira. But these workers, these employees, they submit to these so-called gurus, but they're not making any advancement in that way. Still, the cycle of the repetition of birth and death, birth and death, birth and death, birth, old age, disease, and death will be there because he is not dhira, right? And there may be other spiritual gurus, but these spiritual gurus are not dhira also. They want disciples for name and fame. I know there's certain movements where the initiation is given to people who they haven't been to the society, to the certain society, but they just have written a letter and some guru has written back saying, okay, I accept you as my disciple, but there's no instruction given or anything. So this is not guru, right? Guru has to be dhira, a living Bhagavad. Living the Bhagavad Gita, living Srimad Bhagavatam, like that. And that's why we're so grateful to Srila Prabhupada, because he has established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And you can say re-establish the disciplic succession coming down directly from Krishna. And we can take shelter of these dhiras, these gurus, these swamis, Goswamis. And like that, become dhira ourselves, become swamis ourselves, Goswamis ourselves. Right? So, that is the real knowledge. Bhagavad Gita, Sri Isopanisad, things like that. So I'll stop here. I think I spoke a lot. Any comments or questions? Yes, Jai Krishna Prabhu.
Krishna.
Haribol.
Prabhu. Thank you for that class. It was really, really nice. This purport and verses also really amazing, very relevant to the situation nowadays. I was thinking about the point that you were making, now in the beginning and at the end. Like you started off, with the materialistic society. Prabhupada mentions in the purport and quoting Bhaktivinoda Thakur about the culture of material education, and how it's the fuel to the material society. And then you ended off now, comparatively with the culture that Prabhupada has given us. So we have these two parts of our lives. We have we're outside and we're preaching outside, we're working outside, we're in the material world, we're engaged in this culture, in this materialistic culture. And on the other hand, we have the society that Srila Prabhupada has given us. And it's important that we take advantage, as you were saying, of the shelter that we've been given by Srila Prabhupada, by the Guru Parampara, because this is a chance to become dhira. And it's actually the only way to become dhira, to be in the association of the society. The society actually, it's not that you come here and you try to become a dhira. Just by being in the association, just by being in the society, you will naturally progress towards becoming dhira. You will naturally progress towards Goswami, no matter what your status is. But the more we engage on the outside, on the other side, the flip side, the materialistic side, sometimes in the guise of Yukta Vairagya is there. But sometimes if we are too much, engaged on the other side, too much culturing this education, the materialistic education, then we just become more and more entangled. And we don't see, the other side. So it's very important that we balance, spending as much time as possible in this culture, in this place that Srila Prabhupada has given us, this home.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, in the purport, Prabhupada speaks about Krishna's illusory energy. If I can find it. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, a great acharya, maintained that all forms of material knowledge are merely external features of the illusory energy. Right? So, Krishna's illusory energy is there to deflect us from becoming dhira, right? And therefore, like you said, being in the society, being in the association of devotees is what will help us fight that material energy, that illusory energy, right? Because I mentioned this so many times. During COVID, when we were away from the association of devotees, spiritual life didn't become easier. Right? Anyone here can tell me that the spiritual life became easier when they were kept away from the association of devotees? No. So no one's raised. No, it was more difficult. So therefore, yes, we have to be determined to become dhira. And how? Yes, stay in this association of Srila Prabhupada's, association of devotees and Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON. Yeah. Yes, Mataji?
Hare Krishna Prabhu,
Haribol.
thank you for your class.
Thank you.
I have a question, just as I was listening to the class and listening to Srila Prabhupada has written and that you've shared with us and your own realizations as well, if I have to summarize the class, it all boils down to the fact of ignorance versus knowledge. And so the fact that we don't have real knowledge keeps us bound in a state of ignorance. And so
Yes.
the whole issue is that we don't have this real, if I go outside of the society, we are fortunate by Srila Prabhupada's grace, Srila Prabhupada's mercy, we've come to the society, and so it's easy for us to talk about becoming Dhira. But there are people there that don't even know these concepts, don't even know these principles, etc. So how would you say what can be done in terms of catalyzing change in material education to introduce real knowledge into the educational system so that we can start bringing this knowledge out more, so that it's more accessible to everybody, and so that then everybody can make informed choices as opposed to just following the slaughterhouse education that we have. So it's a personal question, your personal views. How can we catalyze change?
Yeah.
And ultimately, that is what we should be doing. And perhaps just food for thought for everybody as well is how to catalyze change.
It's not an easy question to answer. Because we are at war with the material energy. Yeah, we are at war with the pure devotee, basically, you know. I think, Prabhupada always wanted the Varnashrama system to be re-established. And now that you asked this question, and I'm thinking about it, the reason why he wanted this was because to establish the principles of how to become Dhira, And it's in the purport it says that universities are not teaching this this aspect of cultivating brahmacharya, right? So Varnashrama system does this. So yes, it's got to be taught from a very early age. As you were speaking, I was thinking about approaching like schools, universities, and maybe trying to introduce a class in, I think they have religious studies, but like a class only on Vedic studies, Bhagavad Gita, going in depth. But I don't think that'll work. Because it's still, everything in the university and the schools is about making money, finding a job, making money. Okay. What? Yeah. Wait, I didn't finish. One second. So yeah, I think the re-establishment of the Varnashrama system will do that. But it's difficult to re-establish that. There are some around the world. We were speaking about it yesterday, right? The farming communities and things. But in South Africa, I don't know how easy that's going to be. Yeah. Rangadevi?
So we see like globally, there are different devotees that are going to these corporate places, and they are, like Gaurgopal Prabhu and different other devotees.
Even Radhanath Swami does a lot of it. Yeah.
Yes, so they are introducing the Prabhupada's teachings, but in a very subtle way. So I think that's how we can actually get to them, right?
That's the start.
Yes, by doing this subtle preaching like this.
But I think she was asking about how to, get it done. Like.
Nothing will happen overnight.
Yeah.
Yes, this won't happen overnight.
Yeah,
it's a
I agree.
Process. So, but at least they are.
But they have started it, yes.
They are starting it, yeah. So we can take up the same process in South Africa.
Yeah.
And do like this, but it's just the manpower.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the temple we are so limited,
Hare Krishna. it's not my own words. I'm in no way qualified whatsoever, but something just popped into my mind, which was given by His Holiness Parthasarthi Das Goswami. And he talks about how Krishna consciousness is not a 100-meter race. It's a marathon. And he says that Prabhupada has established certain things in order to develop mankind. For example, Food for Life. Food for Life is not some material propagation to say it's not to, okay, it benefits in a way where we're feeding the hungry. But
it's not a material humanitarian effort.
It's not something like that. It's to give Krishna prasad. And he gives this story where in Mahaprabhu's pastimes, I can't remember who it was, but it was a personality that dropped a piece of maha in a river, and this fish ate that maha, and his disciples saw that fish, that the soul just rise from that fish and enter into the spiritual realm. So just like that, we have these programs in place where prasad is being distributed, and although the person might not get the benefit in this life, they are going to get that benefit in another lifetime. And it's also said that through Harinam, just by hearing the Lord's name, the benefit is there. The seed has been planted. And in some way or the other, that fruit will bear. In this life or the next life, it will come. And my mother always tells me that if Krishna consciousness is meant for you, it will come to you. In this life or the next life, if it's meant for you, it's going to come. So it just might take a little bit more of time. But as the our society is doing, going on Harinam, distributing books, people are hearing the Lord's name. And they will get their benefit one day or the other. It's just going to take time. Hare Krishna.
100% right. It's not a race. It's not a 100-meter race. It's a marathon. And the Food for Life, the Harinams and things, it may not take effect immediately. It may take effect in another lifetime. But it's good that she's in anxiety, that why it's not taking effect, immediately. I wanted to say something now. I lost my trail of thought. Okay, you go. It'll come to me.
If I could just, have a culmination of everything. I think everything that was said was very spot on, and the marathon part as well. But I think, just to answer directly the question that you were asking about, the schools, Prabhupada, to start, as you were saying, to start this race, he's given us one instruction that is just, it's so clear, You just said distribute books. So if we put books into the school, then all of these things get solved naturally. It's so simple, so clear. If you give them books, then they start thinking more about Varnashram. They start thinking more about, brahmachari life. They start thinking more about becoming Dera. They start all of these things they're in Prabhupada's books. We can do our little bit of subtle preaching. We can do our Harinam. We can do our Food for Life. It's working towards it in a slow way. But if you give somebody Prabhupada, he gets everything in one. So if Prabhupada's books are in the libraries, Prabhupada's books are, in the students' bags. We don't have to go through the school, to give class. We just have to give the books. This is what Prabhupada wanted. Just give books.
But it's also, books must, where is book? So that's good. But also, the follow-up is also important, Like Ranga said, manpower is the issue. Because we can go out there and distribute so many, thousands and thousands of books. But we need to follow up. We used to do it when we used to go out on Harinam and book distribution. And when we went door to door, or even on the street, we used to take people's numbers and addresses and things, and we used to try as much as possible to go and visit them. But it's only a few of us. How much can we do? We can't visit everyone. So we have to make more devotees by distributing the books. Yeah, the follow-up is also important. Cultivation has to be there. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Anyone else? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Make sure you bring the mango sweets.